have one implant dentist. He is the slowest guy in town. And he posted a video just today about the problems with removing too much bone. And I'm going, why is he bringing this up? Right? I don't know why. Is he trying to talk people out of this? But he has good intentions. I know he wants more new patients. So it's a shift. And I'll tell you, they go kicking and screaming. And that's why the positive influence framework is not just in one place. You could have great advertising, but if the phone doesn't sound good, or if the way you're communicating face to face doesn't sound good, it's not going to work.
Welcome back to the All In, All On X podcast, where we take you behind the scenes of full arch dentistry, innovation, and the people who are redefining what's possible. Here we go beyond the procedures and into the lives of people shaping full arch dentistry. This isn't just about implants or workflows. It's about the lives we build, the decisions we make under pressure, and the leaders who push this profession forward when no one's watching. Get your head straight, because we're about to go all in. If you can place implants but can't scale your practice, this course is for you. Core Business breaks down how to build a 5, 10, 20 arch per month practice, generating millions of dollars of revenue, learning systems, teams, marketing, and leadership. Stop guessing, start scaling. Core Business, how to 5, 10, 20. One time only, April 24 and 25, 2026. Welcome back to the All In, All On X podcast. I'm Dr. Adam Hogan. I've got a guest that many of you probably don't need an introduction for. This guest has spent more than 4 decades, maybe going on dentistry, putting dentistry in the public eye through the Wellness Hour. Randy Alvarez has interviewed thousands of doctors and helped shape how patients first learned about dental implants and cosmetic dentistry. Long before social media, long before podcasts, long before TikTok, Randy was putting dentistry on television. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Hogan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. I'm in my
Go ahead.
make-believe studio here in Salt Lake City. And you see I'm in a Airbnb, Stay Wild Mountain Child. That was not my choice of studio this morning, but I'm happy to be broadcasting anyway.
Okay, good. Well, we're here in the office. This is my office here at the studio. These are Picasso remakes behind me when I first opened the studio in 2008 here, I had a local artist kind of put those together. Now, let me ask you, Dr. Hogan, because your particular audience, I guess it's anyone that wants to kind of grow their practice. But
Right.
how long have you been doing implant dentistry?
Yeah. I've been
Adam,
going
how
on
long have you been
25
doing it?
years now. I've been going on 25 years now. And it's funny. You said 2008, you opened up your studio. You're in Carlsbad, California. We just had a brief talk offline about your new studio coming up. We're going to chat about that. But I was out at your studio about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've been watching you since 2008. I don't know what took me so long, but I was actually sitting on the other side of the table from you in the Wellness Hour. And we ended up using your ads locally on television, and we've used them on social media. You've had a lot of great ideas for using the content that you created for us at Full Implant Choice. But tell me, you've interviewed thousands of doctors over probably 35 years, and I want to start out by asking you, what separates the dentists who become known from the ones that really nobody ever hears about? What's the difference?
Well, number one, they have a great system. They're passionate about what they do. They're excellent communicators. But, when I go inside, so I work with like Nuvia and Clear Choice and some of the highest earning implant practices. And I interviewed my first dental implant full arch dentist, John Willardson, in 1997. This is before YouTube wasn't even invented until 2006. But we had local television, we had print media, things like that. And I got a lot of experience over that time. So we've created more than 6,700 video programs that air all over the US, all over Canada. As of today's date, we're in every single state, all over the US and Canada. And when I go inside to answer your question, it's those doctors that are excellent at speaking about outcomes, about this. They can vividly describe this future place of being better off. And they have systems on the 6 different touch points of influence from that, that first visit to the website, what people know and see about you on social media, and things like that. So when I look at the most successful practices, it's those that are outcome based, and they relate very well to different patients. But what I wanted to ask you is because now you've been doing implant dentistry for more than 20 years, 25 years. Judgment. How has your judgment changed, and what does that really mean in implant dentistry? As far as your judgment, maybe you're in the middle of a surgery, something happens, you have to pivot.
Oh,
Come
yeah. I mean, judgment has changed tremendously. I mean, I think experience lends into judgment. When you're, say you're in surgery, and you're in the middle of a difficult situation, and you can recall another time in the past where you're in the same position, how you handled it, how it turned out, and potentially, did you have to redo it because your decision was it a good decision? So judgment is always evolving in the practitioner's mind, but also with the consultations and with the process and their systems, like you talked about. I think the way I approach consultations now is vastly different than the way it was 23 years ago.
you know, with
Do
marketing and advertising,
you
my judgment has changed over time. There's so many, just like in implant dentistry, there's so many nuances. There's so many small things that make a big difference. And what I've learned is I live, eat, and breathe advertising and marketing and helping doctors communicate their message effectively. And and I see that uh, now there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace, right? And so I think when choosing a marketing
Mhm.
team or a marketing professional, they have to have a lot of experience, a depth of and a proven track record of results. But here's the problem with advertising. And when you invited me to be on the program, I wanted to talk a little bit about solving this problem. The problem has always been that I will hear the problem with advertising is it brings in all the wrong people, right? Or and depending on your budget, they'll say we spend most of our time weeding people out, or we have a low closing ratio with these advertised people that come in. They don't trust us yet. They think we are recommending things that they don't need. Or as a doctor told me yesterday, Randy, I seem to attract the craziest patients, impossible to satisfy. And these are
Right.
patients that are afraid of paying too much. They're afraid of what could go wrong, and they're afraid of pain. So, look, after 25 years of full arch marketing, we created what I now call, and it's the title of my book coming out in May, the Positive Influence Framework. So it creates demand and works also as a lead filtration. It's a complete patient acquisition engine. And here's the thing that I've learned: the clinical excellence these days is not enough, right? To be super successful. And it may be hard to hear, especially to an
Right.
audience that's working to become an excellent clinician. You have to definitely be an excellent clinician. But the future of implant dentistry doesn't belong only to the best clinician. It belongs to the full arch dentist who can build trust faster, communicate value more clearly, and help the right people see what's possible. So here's the simple truth that your marketing message chooses the patients you attract. That means the type of marketing you do determines whether you're going to
Mhm.
bring in somebody that is optimistic and just wants to eat and chew and feel better about themselves and be healthier, or the person that's actually motivated by uh, making a good choice, by avoiding risk.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to talk about
Mhm.
today, which is the 6 points of influence that determine who walks through the door. And Dr. Hogan, of the people that, and I'll ask you, of the people that come in from the wellness hour that you see, do they seem to feel like they know you? Do they feel like you were talking about them on the interview? Are they
Yeah.
easier to deal with? I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you have a system that works and it coincides with my personal philosophy as well, so it's easy to work with you. But when people see the 30-minute program on the infomercial on the wellness hour, they always say, well, first of all, they kind of get starstruck, right? Because they feel like I'm a celebrity, right? And they, whether we're paying for the ad or not, they just think that, we're on TV. So it kind of validates us just a little bit. But two, they feel like they really got to know me. All right. And more importantly, we brought in a range of patients for that show, probably 6 or 10 patients, and everybody could identify with somebody in that message, and I think that's what's really important when you advertise. You're advertising to everybody. You're not just advertising to a, 62-year-old Caucasian male. You're advertising to people in different socioeconomic groups and people in different situations. And what people say is, they're like, I identified with you, I got to know you, I like you, and I identified with your patients, and specifically maybe these ones. And so when they come in from the wellness hour, they always come in a little bit more validated and more motivated. So I totally agree with you.
And
But
there's a psychology behind the way we do things. And
mhm,
that is because we don't talk about downtime. We don't talk about what can go wrong. We don't say, here's how I'm different than everyone else. What we do on the Wellness Hour, which is an approach and a philosophy to advertising and marketing, we, no matter where you tune in, whether it's 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 15 minutes, we're talking about this future place of being better off. We're talking about not
right,
only we address the problem, the big problem is can't eat, can't chew, sick and tired of spending a ton of money on dental work that doesn't work, lots of patchwork dentistry, going to one office to another. What we talk about is eating and chewing and laughing
mhm,
and dating and looking in the mirror and liking what you see. And that's where the inner smile comes out. That's where charisma happens. So when we talk about this future place, we attract an optimistic person that comes in.
right,
That's the goal with this
yeah,
type of marketing. But what I've seen too long is we can create a great 30-minute program through television or a 30-minute program or videos that go on the website. But if a person's social media is all about surgery and all about here's what happens in the hands of an inexperienced doctor, what ends up
right,
happening is you attract these risk averse patients that are much harder to do business with. And I have one doctor, if I
mm,
mention his name,
yeah,
every single person knows who this is. But this guy says, Randy, I'm getting all of these leads and it's nice that the wellness hour is bringing in easier patients, but it's not working as well as it used to work. And I said, well, when you look at your social media, it's all about surgery, showing discussing complications, discussing how to avoid complications. So what happens is somebody
mhm,
gets fired up with your Google ad, with your Facebook ad, your Instagram ad, or television ad. They get fired up and then they go to your social media and they go, wow, there's a lot more
yeah,
to this than I realize. There's a lot that
right,
could go wrong. And what it does is it it makes them cautious. It makes them slow down, makes them put on the brakes. So unknowingly, doctors that are trying to motivate a patient to do something, what ends
yeah,
up happening is they're making people afraid. They weren't even thinking
right,
about complications until
yeah,
you brought it up, right?
yeah,
Because
right.
and so that's an important distinction to make. Do you find that on the people that show
Absolutely.
up?
And absolutely, it's important that God, you've said so much. I mean, and this is going to be a great hour. And you could talk, Randy. I know you can talk for days and days and days, and there's benefit to it because I've heard you talk at our institute. But you brought up so much. The message you convey, first of all, whatever you put out there, that's what you're going to get back. If you don't want orthodontic patients, don't advertise for orthodontics. The same way as if you don't want people who are negative or optimistic or doom and gloom or they're thinking about pain, you don't put out ads about pain. You put out ads about lifestyle and how it changes you and things like that. So I couldn't agree with you more. But the way that doctors talk about themselves on social media or on the internet, on their websites, plays a big part. That's all like me, my biography, this is the titanium. These are the surgeries we do. Patients don't care about any of those three things. They know that we all have an impressive biography or resume, some more than others, but they can't distinguish really. But it's the mood that and the message you want to convey. And I would say, Randy, don't you think it doesn't just come down to the doctor, but even in my treatment consultation rooms with my trained professionals who are very good at what they do, I hear them slipping in the message. In other words, you said, the patient wasn't even thinking about complications until you brought it up. I have, heard through the walls and through the doors so many times a patient like, I'm ready. I want to sign up. And then the treatment coordinator or the doctor is like, oh, but there's just one thing. There's a possible screw loosening or maintenance that needs to be done from time to time. And you're like, where are you going? What do you ever see that?
Yeah,
What is it like trying to
there's
train staff?
definitely a time and a place to manage expectations. You've
For
got to
sure.
go over what could go wrong, but it's timing is everything. You do
Yes.
it once they've decided to move forward. That's the timing of
Right.
when you have to explain of what could go wrong, but not when you're first trying to talk them into it, for lack of a better expression. The thing is, there's lots of talk of 10xing a practice, getting 10 times more business. So let's say you're doing 10 arches. If you want to double your income, maybe you have to do 20 arches. If you want to triple your income, you've got to do, triple the amount of arches. And when you double your arches, you double the work you have to do. You double the headaches in the practice. You double the complaints. You double the risk. You double the people that are called. They're worried about bleeding, all of those things. And so what I'm saying is this, that if you implement the right marketing and advertising and lead filtration through videos, through your messaging, what you end up doing is, I'm saying, if you want a 10x, you've got to do half the work. You have to work less, not more. Because ideally, wouldn't it be nice to spend all of your time with patients that are motivated? They just want to eat and chew and feel better. That if you could work and only do, like, for those of you that just want to do full arch, that wouldn't it be nice to just spend time in your practice, maybe 3 days a week, on just full arch? That's the goal, is to not work more, but to work less. And the marketing will determine the ease of patients that will come in. I'm saying that your marketing determines the psychological profile of who comes in your practice. I've got this other guy, also very famous guy. He's mad all the time. He's like he's pissed off all the time. And it's because the patients that come in are these risk averse and they're going, I like what you said on your thing about, about bone grafting, or I like what you said about this
Mhm.
and what could go wrong. I don't think the other dentists quite get that part. So what happens is, when you go after these risk averse patients, when something, because they finally trusted you, because they have a lack of trust. They finally trusted you. And
Mhm.
if one thing goes wrong, they want their money back. If one thing goes wrong,
Right.
they feel betrayed. So you're dealing with an angrier group of patients rather than a patient that just comes in and wants to look better. Let me take this into plastic surgery. My wife has a really good friend, and this friend of hers wanted to get a facelift. Now, she's had a lot of surgery before, and everybody seems to botch what she's doing. So she picked a surgeon. I
Mhm.
recommended one, but she picked a surgeon that always talked about risks, always talked about what could go wrong, always talked about downtime with a facelift, right? Never talked about the beauty part. So she chose him to avoid risk. And of course, she got it done. She's extremely unhappy, wants her money back, writing bad reviews. Well, here's the point, that I have a plastic surgeon that says, Randy, I don't want that type of patient. So I actually could not send her to my buddy. He goes, Randy, I want people that just want to look great for their age. I want people that just want to look a little younger. I want people that don't want to look different. They don't want to look prettier. They just want to look great for their age, rested, relaxed. It's a different
Mhm.
mindset. And so my friend, Dr. Greg Keller, who heads up the facial plastic surgery program at UCLA, he only deals with happy aspirate. Aspirates are people that aspire to be better off. It's a different mindset than those people that are looking to avoid risk. And so, what I hear all the time from dentists is, I keep getting price shoppers. I get difficult patients. I get skeptical patients.
Right.
Peter, Randy, you don't understand. People are shopping prices like never before, right? And I'm telling you, it's your marketing that attracts these patients. So there's a thing,
Mhm.
pain pleasure. Cialdini wrote a book and said that people are more likely, and I'm sure you've heard this, people are more likely they'll do more to avoid pain than they'll ever do to gain pleasure. Have you heard that before?
Absolutely. Yeah. Risk averse.
Now, the thing with this pain pleasure, I think it's being misused. There's a guy, by the way, where this all started was 2002, a guy named Daniel, I think it's Daniel Kahneman. He received a Nobel Prize in economic sciences for the work in integrated psychology. in economics, right? Especially around judgment and decision making around uncertainty. So his work was called prospect theory, loss aversion, the idea that the fact that people feel losses more strongly than equivalent gains. And Cialdini, Tony Robbins, they capitalize on this, right? And I like to say people are stirred between being better off and avoiding being worse off. But the pain pleasure, so what's happening is that a lot of marketers are hearing Cialdini, hearing this, and they're doing a lot of marketing, or at least 50, 70% of their marketing on this what could go wrong in the hands of an inexperienced person. And,
Right.
I think that that's a problem. See, because when you show surgery photos, videos of complexity, people making, realizing, what could go wrong, you elicit caution. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. And so
Right.
when doctors talk about here's how we're different and here's what happens in the hands of an experienced dentist, you put on the brakes, you trigger caution. Your brain shifts to protection mode. And so when you show testimonials of people talking about customer service and how the doctors at your practice, treated them better and how bad they were treated elsewhere, again,
Right.
you raise triggers that they weren't even thinking about
Right.
before. So here's
Right.
what I've really
Yeah.
come to understand, that the pain pleasure principle is important. People will do more to avoid pain, but you can do it by creating this future place of being better off that's so good, the pain of staying where they are is too painful. See,
Mhm.
when Steve Jobs, came up with the iPhone and did the big presentation, many of you have seen this. The whole planet, or most of the planet, already had an iPhone. They already had a phone. Their phones were good. And then the iPhone came out. He showed the touchscreen. He showed that it was a 3-in-1: music, internet, and a telephone. And at the end of his speech, people went home and looked at their phone like, this phone's a pile of junk. In fact, keeping the phone they have would have been painful. So that's the idea, that if we can paint this, it's like Cuba. I got to tell you this, Dr. Hogan. Have you ever been to
Yeah.
Cuba?
Are you looking to attract more full arch patients? SIN 360 is offering a professional marketing video package. Their production team comes to your office, documents a case from A to Z, including patient testimonials and final delivery. It captures an in-office tour, creates a high-impact case study that you can deploy across your website and your social media. The full package, $12,995. Oh, but there's more. It includes $5,000 of free SIN product. If you're serious about expanding your reach and maximizing ROI, email videos at sin360.us. Tell them the All In, All On X pod sent you.
Have you ever been to
I
Cuba?
have not. I've not. Would
Okay,
love to go.
I took my two sons to Cuba, and this was about 7 years ago. And when we were there, we're smoking cigars, we're having a good time. Everybody's happy. At that time, 7 years ago, there was no internet for any of the regular people on that island. In fact, there was no cell phones, there was no internet, and everybody seemed happy. And I told my sons, I said, as soon as these people get internet and see how the rest of the world is living and some of the things that they're benefiting from and the freedoms they have, that these people in Cuba, once they find out, they're going to hate Cuba. They're going to hate their life and they're going to want to crave a better life. And sure enough, now that internet's there, it's caused a lot of problems, right? And so what I'm here to tell you is that in your marketing, if you're trying to use this pain pleasure principle, when you show people being better off, when you discuss this future place of being better off, of eating and chewing and laughing and dating and kissing, the pain of staying where they are is terrible. And
Yeah.
they're not talked into things, they're pulled, literally
Yeah.
pulled toward this future of being better off. So
Right.
you agree with that, right, Doctor?
No, 100%, 100%. And a couple of comments and getting the second into the pain of staying where you are. I want to get back to that, and if not the cost of staying where you are, not doing nothing, but getting back into this approach of doctors always showing how they're fixing mistakes or they're the office to go to when things go wrong. And I'll tell you that about 5 years ago, I created a website landing page And I spent all this time building it about how we fix other bad dentistry and bad implants and bad all on four. And I had this whole thing ready to go. And then I canceled it because I thought, you know what? If I put that up there, people are going to have a lot of questions. They're going to mistrust me because they group me into the group with all the other dentists. And more importantly, if I put that out there, my advertising message, I'm going to be attracting hard cases and people who
That's
are
correct.
disgruntled and people who are angry and people who are upset. And do I really want to, if they find me organically, I'd love to fix them, that's fine. But do I really want to attract 50 patients a month who are angry and pissed off with their previous dental work? So I think that's a very important message. Be careful what you're recruiting out there. Uh, the second point of, what's the cost of doing nothing? What if the patient says, I'm not going to do anything? Well, then you don't get to live your life and you don't get to go on trips and you don't get to date. You don't get to, get married and you don't get to get promoted in your job and you don't get to do that. So the cost of not doing anything is enormous. I think that's probably a better
Yeah.
play on motivation.
Yeah. And there's a time and a place for that, of stirring their emotions face to face. And for the sake of this conversation today, it's really on that. It's for people that haven't met you yet, right? What's your position? What do you
Yeah.
stand for? So the 6 areas of influence in the framework, as I'm calling it, is your social media and earned media. Earned media means getting on the local news. You've earned it. They invite you back because your message is so crystal clear. And so in your social media, I remember, because I've spent most of my life being on a diet, trying to figure out longevity, weight loss. And I remember I heard a guy say, before you eat anything, ask yourself, does it cleanse me or clog me? Well, I thought, okay. But the truth of the matter is, it didn't really work for me, right? Does it cleanse me or clog me? But the analogy here is, when you post something on social media, or on your website, a video, whatever it is, you have to ask yourself, does this post motivate somebody to do it, or does it caution them? And that's an important part, because what you're trying to do in motivational psychology is make them crave what you want, to create demand, right? So that's one area. So they see you on your social media, they see you on your website, and website and social media have almost become very much connected. But the
Right.
second area of influence is the landing page or specialty website. And these websites can create pause. They're excited from your ad that was positive, but then they show up on your website and you are creating pause by showing all the complexities, or offering videos that show the complexities. So it's important that your website should do 3 main things. It should say, this is who we are. We're the implant people. You want to create a specialty website that really just talks about one thing. So this is who we are, what we do, show some before and afters with patient stories, and then, of course, how we do it, a 3-step process. This is something that's missing in almost every website that I see across the country. And we look at websites for a living. And your website, patients want to know where you are taking them. And so it's a better idea on every website should say there's a 3-step process to getting your new teeth, right? Step 1, determine whether you're a candidate,
Right.
right? We get some x-rays. We discuss financing. We give you options. Are we going to do the top, the bottom, or are we going to save your teeth and save you money? Once you decide to move forward, step 2 is smile design, and step 3 is the day you get your new teeth. And the 4th step, the unofficial step, is going out to eat all the time, traveling the world. And this is the most expensive part. So your website has to convey that. That's positive influence, and part of the positive influence framework that I'm preaching to all of my new clients. And so the third is that incoming sales call. I'm calling it a sales call. There's certain calls where they just want to book an appointment, and then there are sales calls. Now, here's the thing about
Right.
this, about phone calls. And this is a touchy subject. Randy, I understand the phone calls are important. By the way, according to the ADA, only 32% of people floss their teeth. They assume it's ineffective or unnecessary, right? And
Yeah. I'm surprised it's that
I mean,
high.
right? They don't see they don't, I understand I have to
Yeah.
floss. You could ask a 7-year-old, are you supposed to floss? Yes. Ask an 80-year-old, you're supposed to floss? Oh yeah, we got to floss. But they don't do it because some of the common beliefs are, nothing hurts, so nothing is wrong. I already brushed. That should be enough. Flossing does not make a difference. My parents lost their teeth, so this is probably just my genetics. My teeth have always been bad. I don't have the time. I can't afford to do it right now. I hate going to the dentist, right? There's always something. And so when you talk to a patient about flossing, they're going, I got it, Randy. I've been hearing about flossing my whole life, right? But it's the same with that incoming phone call, that we make at least 40 outgoing calls a week to practices across the country. And I'll tell you what they're doing on the phone, because the number one, 8 out of 10 calls, especially for those of you that are advertising, is how much are dental implants? How much is it? Right? And they don't, and it's usually free consultation. Everybody's mouth is different. I can't give you prices over the phone. Or the other strategy is, the prices started around $20,000 and go up from there. And so this is the problem. It's the phone call has to be re-engineered based on what's going on ChatGPT, what's going on Google search, what's going on YouTube. The phone call now is a phone call where the patient's calling wondering, why should I go to you over all of these other people? And so the steps of that phone call should be, when they say, how much is it? I can help you with that. May I ask, how'd you hear about us? Have you been here before? And then you say, well, let me tell you how we do it here. And you talk about how you do it there. And in regard to price, Dr. Hogan doesn't want to quote you too much or too little over the phone, but I can assure you price isn't going to be a problem because we do it all right here. We literally make and print your teeth right here. The things we're doing would normally take 2 or 3 specialists and 2 offices, but we do it all right here. So it takes some offices up to 2 years. We can do it in as little as 3 visits. That's why this phone call has to change. It's like flossing your teeth. It's important, but you need to be committed to it. You asked me at the very beginning of this. You said, I'm paraphrasing you, but what do the most successful implant full arch practices have in common that I work with? It's their commitment and their obsession with that first impression website, and also with the way they take their incoming calls. And their website, I can't bring up enough. The Bible talks about, you'll know the good trees by their fruit. They have figs on them. You'll know them by their fruit. Well, when I see dental implant websites with all on 4, all on X, all on 4 solutions, get your all on 4 treatment, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that is it's not how people think. It's not how people talk. That's dental vernacular, right? It'd be better just to say it easier. You get a brand new upper and lower set of teeth in just one day. Why not just say what it is? They are teeth, and you're getting a new set of teeth. And so I think people are trying to be so professional. They're trying to impress the wrong people. They want to speak in everyday language. Now, this seems like a no-brainer, but I could pull up any website and I'll see all on 4 all over it. You could put all on 4, but you got to put getting a brand new set of teeth in just one day with a full arch of teeth on top of 4 implants. You don't want to have whoever's visiting your website trying to figure out what you're saying. And so remove all of the foreign language. So when I said you'll know them by their fruit, you'll know the good marketers, because if their websites they're creating have a bunch of foreign language, they're not, bad intentions. They just, in my opinion, they don't get it. Now, the other part of the experience or the area of influence is when they arrive at your office. You have to stage that experience. And then, of course, you have to tailor make each presentation to the patient using their language, not yours. And I think what businesses get wrong, they treat these touch points as separate events. And it's important that they should be designed as one unified system, a consistent message on that it's positive. When they go to your Instagram, the goal is when they see Dr. Hogan, they go, I like that guy. You're the guy that puts them in a good mood. You're the guy that talks about this place of being better off. You address the problem: can't eat, can't chew, bleeding gums, bad breath, loose teeth, insecure, feeling judged by others. But then you clearly pave a way of what's happening.
Yeah.
So the real opportunity here is when all 7 touch points align, or 6 touch points that I brought up, you attract patients that have more trust and increase acceptance. You're
Yeah.
bringing in, it's like the facelift example I gave earlier. There are certain patients, they just want to look better. They want to look younger. They're not
Yeah.
worried about all the politics
Yeah.
surrounding deep plane facelifts versus just a skin pool or threads or whatever the case may be. So influence is not one conversation. It's literally a sequence. And if you master the sequence, you change the outcome. It's like throwing a party. Like if you threw a party at them, who comes to your party? It's the people you invite. So if you are inviting people to your party that are fear-based, see, and unknowingly, every time you put surgery photos, in my opinion, you shouldn't put surgery photos on your website that's for patients. Now, if you're a training facility, and by the way, you are Dr. Hogan. So if you're training other dentists, the best part of that is your surgical training. So in that case, is yes, you need to put photos of the
Right.
surgery and examples of the surgery and video testimonials of the surgery throughout, but not for the patients. So with the Wellness Hour marketing agency, and then I kind of want to open this up to some of the questions you have, and I'll finish right now. And that is that the positive influence framework will work with you in two ways. One way with the Wellness Hour is we create a 25 video package, in studio interview, sales training, implementation of this framework, access to our training library, and a copy of the Positive Influence Framework book and the downloadable PDFs that go with it. Now, the level 2 or tier 2, what we do is a complete marketing takeover. People have been telling me this, Dr. Hogan, for a long time. They go, I pay one guy for the SEO, I pay another person for my social media, I pay another person for the TV, and then I do and so what they've been asking me is, I wish there was just one person that can do it, right? And I couldn't make the numbers work, but we finally figured it out, right? We call it the Positive Influence Framework, and it's a complete marketing takeover. So we handle your Google marketing, social media marketing, automated follow-up, audiobook, avatars, full arch tracking website, 52-week follow-up program. And I will tell you, staying where you are is risky because it's not the big companies, especially in this AI, which I spent about 3 hours a day on AI, learning about AI for the last 3 years. Our office has been a very early adopter. I don't even think it's been 3 years. So it's not the big companies that eat the small. It's the fast companies, the fast dental offices that eat the slow, that adopt this positive change, that have before and after photos, that have positive uh, video testimonials, right? And there's a scene in the Facebook movie where Zuckerberg is starting Facebook. He's at Harvard and he has a bunch of people he just left Harvard and he has a bunch of people working in his living room. And he walks out to these hackers because it was going from 10,000, 20,000, 999, 1 million subscribers. He looked at his team and he said, it's time to think bigger. And that's what I'm saying to all of you here. It is time to think bigger in what's possible in your marketing. Marketing could be a good thing. If you've had bad experiences with marketing in the past, it's usually because the messaging was flawed and you got in a bunch of people that were skeptical rather than people that were just hoping to be better off, to eat and chew and laugh and date and kiss. That's all by design. Alfred Hitchcock, we have a picture in the studio of Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, he says, and he wrote a book on directing, messaging, and storytelling. And he said that when we created Psycho, our goal was to create the message of fear, right? We wanted to create the emotion of fear in the audience. Well, when we take on a client and when you do your next ad, you want to create a emotional message of being better off, of being able to eat and chew. And the pain of staying where you are is way too painful. And you know what? People will save up for things that will benefit them. We're all looking for things that'll improve our lives. We're scanning, internet. We have, all the things delivered to us, which is a good thing and bad thing because it confirms our bias. But the truth of the matter is we're all looking for things that could benefit our lives. And if you want to differentiate yourself, whoever's listening to this, you don't do it by telling people, here's how I'm different. It's like when I met my wife 4 years ago, if I went on that first date and said, let me tell you how I'm different than all the other guys, already that would be a slime ball. They'll know you're different by the way you talk about things. And that's
Right.
kind of my message today. Dr. Hogan, I'm going to leave it up to you if you have any questions.
Well, this is great. I love the way this is going, Randy, because you're just such a wealth of information. I mean, 35 years you've been doing this, and you're a salesman, I think, by birth. You talk about, I think that you were born to be a salesman. I
I
think
don't know.
that you probably were really good with your mom, getting whatever you wanted. I'm sure, you're probably really good. I know that you used to sell cars and you've been in this business 35 years. You probably sold just about everything under the sun. Uh, I mean, there's marketing. So you said, just a minute ago that marketing, people think it's a bad thing or they're scared of it, or they've been bit by it or bit by bad marketing. You know, what do you see going on with the dental marketing world over the last, especially 10 years? That is different from what you're doing. And, how do you draw on different experiences over 35 years from all these like fly by night marketing companies that are just like popping up left and right all over Facebook? Like, hey, do you want to get to 50 arches? Do you want to get to 100 arches? Call us now, or we can guarantee leads. Like, what do you think about all that? And how are you different?
Well, I think if they're exaggerating about one thing or misleading about one thing, what else are they misleading about? I saw this one company yesterday. They're going to guarantee you 50 arches a month. And I'm going, man, I'd love to know how they're able to do that, right? There's a company that sells it this way. They say, Dr. Hogan, how many arches do you want a month? You want 20 arches, cost $2,000 to acquire a patient. So you're looking to get 20 arches, you're looking at $40,000 a month. And if you want 10 arches, you're looking at $20,000 a month. People don't want more leads. What they want is a better quality of patients. And the problem is the bigger your ad budget, the more time you have to spend weeding people out until now. That's why
Right.
the lead filtration videos that we're creating before they walk in the door, they're going to be sent videos that let them know what insurance covers. Max payouts about 2,000. Medicare, Medicaid, love to take it, but they don't cover it. And if you are going to finance it, you have to have okay credit, but some of the lenders, accept co-signers. So I think the future of this marketing of what's happening is it's going to be less leads and more qualified leads. And that's why I wrote this book, The Positive Influence Framework, because I know this is controversial because I see ad after ad or after social media post that's surgery driven. Because
Mhm.
look, you can't advertise just look and dentist. They're going, well, I like the fact that I'm upfront with people. I like the fact that I'm educating patients because because of the science brain that you have, you're saying, well, this is what motivates me. This is what's going to motivate my patients. It's not necessarily true. So you have to go after less leads, work less, but only on the happy patients that come in through their marketing. And if you send video, look, if you leverage your message, the best person, Dr. Hogan, in your practice to talk about implant dentistry is you. So now you can leverage your message with videos. So before they walk in the door, they know insurance doesn't cover it. They know that if they're going to finance it, they have to have credit. It's a lead filtration before they walk in the door. Also, when you send them videos, even for the booked consults, you send those people videos to hear about your 3-step process to eliminate or cut down on cancellations. But I think with AI as an advertising agency, the algorithms are better than ever. If you're advertising on YouTube, whether you're a savvy marketer or whatever, YouTube's job, Instagram's job, they took from TikTok. Keep people on the platform. How do you do it? By sending them relevant stuff. So today, the data is so much better. The behavioral science is so much better that now you can create videos that are positive influence based and you
Yeah.
can send them out into the world. And so what I'm saying to you, and I know there's one guy, Randy, you don't get it. My patients tell me they like my surgery photos. My patients like when I explain something goes wrong. Let me tell you something. This, I think, is what gets people addicted to this type of marketing. They go, but Randy, my patients are always complimenting me on this type of marketing. Yeah, because just like my facelift example, that's a nightmare patient. She's going, I really like what you had to say about what could go wrong. You were honest, you were upfront, but it's not your ideal patient. So when you get compliments about that kind of marketing, it's not your best customer. It'd be better to get customers or patients that come in the door and say, I felt like you were talking about me. Because the more you talk about the internal frustrations, the more they know that you get their internal frustrations, their psychological frustrations, the more they listen and the more they go, this guy gets it, right?
Right.
But the main thing is you got to paint that picture. So I think that the not look, I'm having this meeting, even if I had everybody's ears, I would say 8 out of 10. Just like, look, you could talk about flossing, give the best flossing speech. They're still not going to floss. And they're still going to keep posting surgery photos and what could go wrong photos. There's a place for that, but it's not in your ads.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I found this out, through having the Atlantic Implant Institute. I show some surgery stuff over there, throw it on YouTube over there. And it's not really patient facing, but if a patient wants to find it, they will. There are a few people out there, 10, 20%, that might find a little bit of interest in that. And they come in and they go, oh, I watched all of your surgery videos and that's why I want you to do it. But I agree with you. I think that that's a minority. I think the bulk of them, if you go to my main full implant choice, social media, they want to meet the staff and they want to see testimonials and they want to hear, they don't want to go to your social media and they go, it's Groundhog's Day, everybody. Have a happy Groundhog Day, and then you don't post anything until, the next holiday where you just post like a picture. They want to see your patients enjoying life and giving good testimonials. And they want to get to know you. It's a great way to introduce yourself.
Hey, JB Dental Lab is the lab that full arch clinicians trust when precision truly matters. JB combines advanced digital workflows, photogrammetry compatibility, expert design teams, and high strength zirconia to deliver prosthetics that fit, function, and last. Their communication is top tier. Their turnaround times are reliable. Quality is the reason that so many high volume, all on X practices partner with JB Labs. Visit jbdentallab.com for reliable quality, full arch support. Tell them that the All In, All on X pod sent you.
Going back, you do those videos and it's a tremendous amount of good information for patients, but we feed it to them in little bits and increments, over text messaging and contacts and emails and things like that. So that when they come in, they already have, the idea that we're an authority and they already get a little bit of information. But when they come in, we don't necessarily talk about the nuts and bolts, literally, of the operation unless they're specifically asking about that. It's much more of like a get to know you, empathic, feeling sort of way. What triggers you? What do you want us to do for you? And if you want to talk about those nuts and bolts. But I think that the message videos you do are very, very important, but they just have to be timed at a different, what's your feeling on timing of these videos and how frequent
Okay.
do you get them to patients and potential patients, and how would you recommend going about that with your videos?
So I think that three main ways. So everybody that visits your website and fills out a form, they should be sent a certain amount of videos dripped to them, right? Everybody that calls your office and books an appointment. The new trend is this. You got to be doing this, and I don't think you're doing this now, Dr. Hogan. When somebody books an appointment, your front desk says, now Dr. Hogan is doing a free consultation. His only request is that you watch these 2 videos. It's going to make for a much better consult. You'll have better questions and a better understanding of how we do things. Now, what you're going to send them would be the 3-step process, which sounds better than everybody else, your so-called competition. But it's also going to talk about some lead filtration stuff, the 9 things that affect the cost of dental implants and what you need to know, right? And so when they see that first, they come in with a positive mindset. So it has to be used there. And then the patients that do not book. So patients that call and say, well, I've got to check my schedule. I've got to check with my spouse, because people have busy lives. So I think you need to send a series of videos for the unbooked patients. I think the main message is the 3 ways to use videos to lock patients in and drive desire is going to be on the website, on the people that call your office and book, and on the people that call the office and don't schedule an appointment. And you should have a drip marketing campaign that goes out that's 52 weeks worth of drip, or at least heavy on the first 30 days. So what should go inside these videos? It should be patients that have been through the process, talking about eating and chewing and how easy it was and how they regret putting it off for so many years. It should include maybe stuff from the manufacturers showing those implants, floating into the bone. It can be something you can show. Not only video testimonials, before and after photos, but you can send them videos about the 3-step process, about sedation dentistry, about online reviews, all of those things. And so video today is more important than ever. But what's more important than ever is messaging. And what I'm seeing, and that's why this is where I live in a state of frustration. It's more than messaging. I think what's happening is they're telling the wrong story. Like when I see videographers show the patient walking in the office, showing them getting their CT scan. When you're watching a video about a CT scan, nobody's at home going, honey, let's do it. I love those CT scans. So what if if I gag and have a gag reflex? I love that stuff. Oh my goodness, look, surgery. I love that too. It's not a motivating factor. And so doctors need to come, I don't know. Sometimes I see these videos with all the surgical garb and the loops, and I'm going, are they just trying to impress their friends from high school that they're surgeons? Because they're certainly not motivating patients to take action. And look, I got to tell you, Adam, that Charlie Munger, and Warren Buffett, right? The two greatest investors of all time. Some people might say it, Ray Dalio, but Charlie Munger, who was the right-hand man who recently passed away at 90 something, he said, Warren Buffett, and he said, our message didn't spread because it was too simplistic. They can't teach it at an MBA program because you know what our system is? Buy good companies that are profitable, with good management, and keep them forever. He goes, that's it. He goes, that does not work in an MBA program because it's over. That explanation, he said, so our idea didn't spread because it was simplistic. And I'll tell you something, with the Wellness Hour and my new book, Positive Influence Framework, that goes into the psychology of all this, it's the same thing. It's a simple message that the phone call matters, the website matters, what you show on social media matters, positive influence matters, right? And so how do you hold a seminar about that? Randy, I got that. We understand that. But they don't see that every time you show surgery, it's negative. Every time you talk about how you're different, it's negative. Every time that you say, I fix other people's problems, it's negative. That's my message there.
I mean, just take it to like a simple analogy, like somebody trying to sell like marriage or a wedding, right? I tell my salespeople this. I'm like, they call you up on the phone. They say, oh, I'm thinking about getting married. Oh, why you want to get married? Oh, I don't know. I'm lonely. I want company. Okay. Your trigger is you're lonely. You want company. Okay. So let's talk about, this great big party we're going to have and all the trips you're going to take and all the great memories you're going to have with your kids and blah, blah, blah. You don't go into, okay, well, let me tell you about what could happen. This is you guys sitting at your kitchen table going over bills in the future, and this is the laundry piled up in the corner, right? And this is, you don't go into all those other avenues of like the details of marriage and how to make it successful. Okay, well, we're going to do this together, we're going to do that. Now you go into you're lonely and you want company, and you're going to go take trips to, you're going to go to the Caribbean, you're going to go to Europe, and you're going to go to wherever, and you're going to have these great memories, and it's all positive. You don't see the wedding videographer trying to sell, their video package with, some of the complexities of marriage and how you make it work when you get there. You just don't do it.
It's why no is it on your dating?
Why is it on your website? Why is it all over your website? I totally agree with you.
Dating on that first date, when I met my wife, if I would have talked about, like when we get married, there's going to be this. And when we get married, there's always going to be arguments. We never want to go to bed angry. Like if I unloaded all these truths on the first date, it was like, I got to get out of here. Right. But certain people might like that. Certain people are like, well, I like that he's never going to cheat on me. I like that he's never going to beat me. I'll never forget my sister one time told me, my sister who's had a lifelong tough time with relationships. I said, well, what are you looking for in a guy? Right? She goes, well, one that doesn't hit me. I go, rather than just looking for a nice guy, she's looking for one that doesn't hit her. Right? And that's who she's attracting. And she keeps, it's a terrible thing, but she keeps attracting those type of guys. So what you talk about, you get more of. And so it's going to be tough for people to stop showing surgery. It's going to be tough for people to stop offering warnings, right? I hear it all the time. I mean, I have one implant dentist. He is the slowest guy in town. And he posted a video just today about the problems with removing too much bone. And I'm going, why is he bringing this up? Right? I don't know why. Is he trying to talk people out of this? But he has good intentions. I
Yeah.
know he wants more new patients. So it's a shift. And I'll tell you, they go kicking and screaming. And that's why the positive influence framework is not just in one place. You could have great advertising, but if the phone doesn't sound good, or if the way you're communicating face to face doesn't sound good, it's not going to work. And again, look, there's definitely a place. I don't want to be wrong here. There's definitely a place where you have to manage expectations, or you're going to run into trouble. But it's
Oh
not
yeah.
at the very
So we
beginning.
put that after the consult. Yeah, we put that not at the phone call, after the consultation, before surgery. So there's this, records visit, you're capturing smiles, you're photographing, you have time to sit down and talk, but it's after that fact. And I think as doctors, we need to do that. I think you're right. But you don't want to do it in your marketing message for sure. If we, you and I can sit here and know all the right things to say on the phone and all the right things to say in a consultation. How do you find people in a dental practice? Where do you find your best people? If I was to put out an ad and hire, am I hiring within the profession? Am I looking for people that sell cars or cell phones or timeshares? Or, what are you looking for when you're looking to hire somebody that can be your representative on the phone that understands the sales process?
Well, number one, you have to ask them, do you read any books on communication? Do you read books on self help? You look for a person that aspires to become better, right? You want this aspirate type of person. It's like if I'm hiring a salesperson and they say I could sell ice cubes to Eskimos, I'm not going to hire them. That's a con artist. One of the things you said, which I cringed when you said it, you said, Randy, you were a car salesman. Well, when I was 18 years old, I sold cars for 4 months. I tried to quit, and then they promoted me to a
Okay.
finance manager where I'm selling, warranties. And they kept promoting me every time I was going to quit. And all the time I was learning about marketing and advertising. And then I ended up being the general manager of this mega chain. And then I ended up doing sales seminars on the road. And that's how the Wellness Hour started. A doctor attended my lecture, and we went into business together. He was a medical doctor doing hormones. But the fact of the matter is, that's why with car salesmen, oh, well, that makes sense. He's a car salesman, right? But and you're labeled that forever. It's kind of like the plastic surgeon that was an oral surgeon, and he becomes a plastic surgeon, board certified. You know what all the other plastic surgeons call him? Oh, that's just a dentist that's trying to do surgery. You get labeled that way. So I'm
Yeah.
talking about ethical communication and
Yeah.
selling things that are better for the patient, that improve their
Yeah.
lives.
I immediately apologize. Okay, because there is this
Well,
connotation
that's
about
fair to
car
say.
salesman, but you got your start there. And for the record, I did one time hire a car salesman, and she was, number one on her lot, and I knew her personally and all this stuff. And when she came in, I said, "You cannot sell this like you sell cars." And we went through the training and this and that, and she said, "Sure, I understand." And what happened? I had to let go of her in like 30, 45 days because she was signing everybody up under the sun, and they were paying deposits. They didn't even know what they were buying yet. Yeah. And so that was a problem,
Wow.
and she was signing up unqualified people who didn't need it. Even if I said they didn't need it, she's like, "Look, I got you." So I was like, "You're not selling cars. It's very different." One thing that's very different, and I say this among our sales team, is you're not selling something to somebody that they don't need. It's not like they don't need your services. It's not like, you're selling ice to an Eskimo. They have enough ice. You're selling something that they need. So, you can feel morally, ethically, okay with it, just to feel like, okay, I'm just trying to help them get what they need at this point in time. I'm not trying to get them to buy something they don't want or they don't need. So it's much different. I don't have a
And
better word for the sales in this
and
game.
and and and, and here's the thing, and I tell this to my team here. I said, if they don't want to do business with us, it's really comes down to one thing. They don't think it's worth it. If they don't want to pay 20 grand per arch, they just don't think it's worth it. If they did, they would do it. If they knew what it was like to eat and chew and laugh and date and not be judged and have confidence and fresh breath, They would all do it. There's 30 million people supposedly with upper and lower dentures. There's only 300,000 dentists. If they all decided to do it, you couldn't do it. You'd have to, it'd be a 20-year waiting list. So there's plenty of customers. But what we need to work on is how do we stir emotions to get them to want it, to crave it? And that's really the purpose of this entire talk. Do they? And people will save up for it. My son, now you're in a position where you don't probably save up for things, Adam. You don't really save up for things anymore. My young son, who's 24, he bought a $5,000 camera. He doesn't have the money, but I overheard him saying, "I'm going to save up for this camera." He ended up getting it. But the point is, I was thinking, man, I forgot that people save up for things that they really want. And that's what will happen when your social media matches, when that first impression website matches, when the phone call matches, when the patient experience is choreographed just right, when you dig for motives, tailor make your presentations, they see themselves in the stories you're telling. And then they can't live any other way. They want it, they crave it, and if they have to do a GoFundMe page, I have a doctor that he said what he does, he claims, and people exaggerate to me all the time, that he gets 2 patients a month from GoFundMe. He'll tell a patient, look, if you're on a tight budget, do you go to church? Tell your church you want new teeth, and do a GoFundMe telling them you want $50,000. And he claims he's getting two arches a month or 2 patients a month from the GoFundMe. Interesting. Are you doing any of that?
No, but I'm already texting my people right now. They're doing it now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But
I'm like, I got it right here.
it's there's so much nuance to this, and there's so much psychology to this. And look, it's like you said, you're selling something where people are better off. You're in the transformation business. If they do business with you, they're better off than if they didn't. And I feel like I'm in the transformation business. If people do business with the Wellness Hour, I feel like they're better off, right?
Yeah,
And so
they are. They are. And people have to save up for it. And, you got to be in business for the long haul. Everybody wants to, new grads or people just jumping into cosmetic dentistry all in for, and they're like, I want to be busy right now. And yes, we all want to be busy now. We all want our return on investment to come, to prove itself and be validated in 30 days or 3 months. But I mean, I've been in business 23 years, and I'd say once a month, I get somebody that came back that saved up for it for the last 2 years, 5 years. And they're just like, my sales team, they're like, oh, so-and-so just dropped by and they dropped off a check and they're ready to go. And you last saw them 3 years ago. So there is some of that, just people just getting, you got to get everything in place for the long haul. It's really a marathon. Of course we need cash flow for this month, but it's really a marathon in business. So I get what you're saying. No, the GoFundMe, we haven't done that. And maybe we should. But it is very common, to have people in the chair and they can't qualify for a loan or they can't qualify for the full amount of the loan. And for our people to say, who's in your inner circle? Who, loves you? Who knows you're here? Who wants to see you with their new smile? Can they help you in any way? And so it's frequent that a friend or a family member might drop a couple thousand or co-sign on a loan. I think that's more common than not. So it's very similar. You still there, Randy?
yeah, I'm here on my end. Uh, I think it's the power of suggestion. Most people in their head will feel like, well, that's pushy asking, could they borrow money from a loved one or family? But it's not. You're giving them ideas on how they can afford, especially to a patient that says, I want to do this. I just have to figure out a way to pay for it. This allows you to tell them what other patients do. People are driven by what other people are doing. That's why people have Chanel bags and Louis Vuitton, whatever, and drive fancy cars. It's why they do things. So I think that, look, whoever does your marketing better understands psychology, and they have to understand the market. They have to understand the patient's fears, especially a full arch patient's fears, the misunderstandings or misconceptions they have about the procedure, and they have to know what drives them. In order to influence anyone to do anything, you have to know what drives them. And I'll tell you what about selling cars, back to, look, if it's a good car salesman, they'd be perfect for a practice. You know what a good car salesman does? finds out their current situation. They have no room in the current car they have. The current car, they can't drive long distances because it has 100,000 miles and they feel unsafe with their kids. Their current uh, car gets terrible gas mileage. The new car solves all of those problems, right? And so you can't sell a car until you know their current situation. It's like one day when a guy was trying to sell me a Porsche after my divorce, I went through a midlife crisis. I was married for 16 years. Of course, it was all her fault why we broke up. But when I was looking for this car, he was just selling me the Porsche rather than, God forbid, he asks, so you've been driving, a Prius, you've been driving a conservative E-Class Mercedes. What's making you even consider a convertible Porsche? And I would have told him the truth. Well, I'm single and et cetera, a different presentation, right? So if some people say, well, I'm not a natural salesperson, I'm not good in the consult room. Well, the truth of the matter is if you dig deep enough and you know enough about their felt dissatisfactions and how their life is, you naturally become a great salesperson. Another way to become an excellent salesperson is 6 months later, they're in their final teeth. A year, they're in their final teeth. They're in the getting cleanings. And you go up to them and ask them, what's changed in your life? Do you smile more? Do you get compliments? Do you find your charisma has increased? And when they tell you all these stories, you can't help but become a better salesperson to the next patient that you describe what may happen. And so that's an important part of this whole thing, that if you dig deep enough over time, so now your next patient, they come in, they just want to get out of pain. They come in, they just want to be able to eat and chew. They have no idea what a smile is going to do for them. They have no idea the impact it's going to have on everybody else. And a young person, it changes the trajectory of their future, right? It ignites romance. It adds credibility. It makes you look younger, more sophisticated, more educated. That's what a smile does, right? And so your ability to get people excited about the future can be developed by asking questions. Anyway, we're going to go over the rest of this at your business core principles.
Yeah, I was going to show, for those interested, Randy and I are going to be talking about this stuff for 2 days, April 24th and 25th in Virginia Beach, in just like 6 or 7 weeks. So there is so much to talk about. I mean, we're coming up on an hour here, so I want to throw that up before we forget, because even the 2-day seminar, we're going to give you a wealth of information, but we can barely touch on it. You really always have to practice and go back and listen to yourself and listen to your team and coach each other and get outside. And you have that with a 52-week program. Is that right, Randy? You guys, when you guys help people through marketing, you help them for a full year with coaching, right?
Yes. Yeah.
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 Absolutely. So the positive influence framework, is that the name of the book? Positive influence framework?
It's the name of the book. How the marketing you
And
do, attracts a specific type of patient. And I offer to work with us. We have a tier 1 and tier 2, and the one is the 25 video package. And then we show you how to implement that. It's the lifetime cost of getting half of a patient with one arch. It's much less than that of what they're charging for full arches.
This episode of the All In All NX Pod is powered by JB Dental Lab, your full arch lab partner for predictable, beautiful, and digitally precise results. From provisional same-day conversions to final zirconia, JB delivers consistency, communication, and craftsmanship that elevate your practice. The proprietary case portal keeps your team connected with quick communication and real-time updates, while their in-house designers and comprehensive full arch services ensure precision from conversion to final zirconia. If you're looking to grow your skills, JB's Educational Center hosts hands-on courses with live surgeries. Ready to streamline your All-NX workflow with a lab that truly understands the surgical and prosthetic connection? Visit jbdentallab.com and tell them the All In, All NX Pod sent you. Thanks for listening.
And then you have a video program that could be used for many, many, many years. Then we have the total marketing makeover, where for a monthly retainer, we handle everything. And, that's the other option. But I think at your meeting, we're going to talk a little bit about the words that impact patient decisions, how to design a presentation that's impossible to refuse, how to isolate and overcome the common objections
Right.
that you get. And we'll specifically talk about the word tracks with telephone calls, how to handle objections, how to use trial closes, how to amplify your messaging throughout.
Yeah. I love the way that you handle talking about objections. I've heard you talk about it at our program in Virginia Beach probably 4 times already. I want to hear it again. I want every time that you come, I want my staff to sit in and hear you talk, because it's just a wealth of wisdom, but the way that you handle objections. And is there any chance we could get a copy of your book for the participants at the course? Maybe we can,
Yeah, so we're going to
or
do it. It'll be
how can
released.
we buy them?
It's going to be released. We're creating a page on wellnesshour.com that that is a pre-order. Also, look, if somebody's made it this far, uh, follow me on Instagram at Randy Alvarez, and I give little talks about it, updates about it, and we'll have that available to everybody. And my goal with the book is to really drive home that there's a better way to market, a more effective way to market. And effectiveness, as Peter Drucker from Harvard says, effectiveness can be learned. It's a habit. And so if you change your messaging, you change your entire life. You go home at the end of the day and you only work with happy patients, right? That trust you, that like you, and let your colleagues, your competition deal with those people that are trying to avoid risk.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to contact me or DM me or go to wellnesshour.com, we could
I got
schedule.
your page up here at Randy Alvarez on Instagram. I've been known to follow this. There's my buddy Sam Jarek. His podcast is releasing this morning, I believe. There's our buddy.
Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah. He's been using the
Stay.
show for quite some time.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get out there again, Randy. I haven't recorded in probably 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And I guess I need to get on there again so people know actually how old I am.
Yeah, you know what? Well, you
But
haven't aged, but
I think we need to update the message.
because we're shooting different videos than we shot back then. We're shooting a lot of lead filtration videos today that help with the practice, that that automate your things. And now with autoresponders, with AI, these videos could be distributed and sent to the right type of patients.
Yeah, when we get off this call, I'm going to get with your team and we're going to book a date to come back down to Carlsbad. When is the new studio going to be open, you think? You said you've got a new
Well,
studio and a theater. Talk to us about that.
I officially haven't. Look. It's time for us to think bigger. So this is
Okay.
an 8,800 square foot. It's a historic movie theater that was built in 1924, and it's over the top. It has living quarters, so maybe even the doctors can stay there instead of a local hotel. They stay in the studio because I have a 2-bedroom apartment above it. But it's going to allow us to do a lot more things, both a podcast. It's going to allow us to have our set there, and I don't have to sit around with this movie theater hoping to make money off of the tickets, right? Which would almost be
Yeah.
impossible to do. So that's secondary, but I think it's going to allow the doctors for a much better experience. We're also developing a new podcast set because we're doing these. When you're here, we're going to do a 60-minute audiobook with you. And I'll explain that to you later. So when people leave here now, they literally have a 25 video package. And then our job is to show you how to disperse these throughout.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So this new movie theater is just going to make for better production, better lighting, better everything.
I can't wait to see it. All right, we'll get off the phone. We'll get off this pod, and we'll schedule that. I want to thank you for being with us today, Randy. I think the audience learned a lot about marketing, advertising, sales, lead management. And if you want to learn more from Randy, go to Randy Alvarez on his Instagram page. You can send him a DM. Look at his Wellness Hour stuff. I highly recommend it. And if you want to meet him in person, Virginia Beach, April 24th and 25th. I'm looking forward to seeing you, my friend. Can't wait.
All right. Thank you, Adam. You are the dental implant king these days. So thanks.
I'm doing my best. All right, buddy. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll catch up soon.
You got it. Thanks.
All right, later.
Hey, if today's conversation resonated with you and you're looking to sharpen not just your technique, but your judgment, your discipline, and your long-term vision, then this is exactly why we built the Atlantic Implant Institute. This is not just some weekend course or module. This is not just some highlight reel. This is not just some collection of disconnected modules. This is the core continuum for education and full arch workflow. It begins with Module 1, Core Bootcamp Fundamentals, where we establish surgical foundations, diagnostic discipline, and repeatable decision-making under real-world pressure. And then it continues with Module 2, Advanced Prosthetics and Full Digital Workflow, where occlusion, vertical dimension, aesthetics, condyles, and execution all converge. And then we have Module 3, which tackles remote anchorage, pterygoids, zygomatics, complex anatomy, taught through biomechanics, planning for predictable outcomes. We also teach FP1 philosophy, not just FP3 solutions. And after the continuum, we have modules in FP1 fixed immediate load and also business, how to 5. This is business, leadership, and operational strategy so that you can build surgically what actually works in practical business. If you're ready to go into full arch dentistry with intention, structure, accountability, and purpose, you can learn more at theatlanticImplantInstitute.com.